Hello and welcome to another episode of the Monday Night Wars. It is September 16th, 1996, and we are live with WCW Nitro in Asheville, North Carolina at the Asheville Civic Center. Simple, to the point. I love it. I am Scott, and with me is Joseph the Body Rojas. Joseph, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. And I got to bring back a segment that we have not done in a long time. We haven't done it because with Nitro going to 2 hours, it didn't make sense to keep doing it, which was quick bits. We would do quick bits to kind of talk about topical things just very quickly. I'm choosing to bring it back this time because they all actually do involve the Monday Night Wars, all except for one, but you'll understand when I bring it up. The first one is Hulk Hogan was recently on a podcast with Logan Paul, just two douchebags sitting in a room. Hulk Hogan said
as soon as you said that you were talking about the podcast, I was like, "Oh God, here we go." Tell us what you really think, my friend.
Hulk Hogan. I won't go along with this, but Hulk Hogan said that he had creative control in WCW, but he never used it. That's just false. Not only is it false because obviously, and Hogan's a compulsive liar, but even Eric Bischoff, who's like best friends with him, has detailed times when he, used his creative control. Now, Eric Bischoff will give like explanations why he thinks he was right. Whether he was right or wrong doesn't matter because they're boys and that's fine. But he clearly used it. So we're going to move on past that. It's fucking ridiculous. Anyways, unfortunately, in the last few weeks, since we kind of did our two batches, we had some people pass away. So do you want to touch on those? The first one really, I don't believe ever showed up in WCW or WWF to my understanding or my knowledge. Kuniaki Kobayashi, who wrestled prominently for New Japan Pro Wrestling. He passed away recently. Rest in peace. Someone that's near and dear to your heart, Viano 5, passed away. We're not joking about this, by the way. When we get to the Vianos, Scott is going to lose it. He loves the Vianos. He loves the entire thing. So, yeah, that really is, he really does care about that. Now, unfortunately, there was also a huge name when it comes to, North American wrestling, because I would argue that Kobayashi is a huge name in Japan. But when it comes to North American wrestling and very important to the Monday Night Wars, Psycho Sid unfortunately passed away. He had cancer and unfortunately just got the better of him, to my understanding. Rest in peace, Sid. Rest in peace, Viana. Rest in peace, Kobayashi. Sucks to see you guys go. I hope finally that Sid will go into the WWE Hall of Fame. He always said that it was because Vince hated him, which is why he didn't go in. That's probably true, to be honest. I mean, it's an alleged thing, but it's probably true. I hope that Trips does right by him and, his family and puts him in, because I think he deserves it. We've found ourselves really enjoying him in a way that we never thought we would. Now, moving on to some other news. I mentioned a few weeks ago that we have about 50 subscribers. Well, that was when I was talking about specifically Spotify, which is where we maintain that's kind of our hub for our podcast. We uploaded Spotify. It flows out to every other platform. So I was thinking about it the other day and I was like, I wonder if that counts for all platforms or if that's just Spotify. So I looked up the other platforms altogether when it comes to our Patreon subscribers, when it comes to, which some of them are actually free subscribers. So I assume they don't use Spotify. When it comes to our Apple subscribers, when it comes to our YouTube subscribers, we're actually over 70 now, which
we're in the money.
Yeah,
we're in the money.
We're not making any money, to be clear. We're not really not making anything. But
anything we make from the Patreon's going right back into paying for all this stuff.
Yeah, that's all it does.
Software, everything. Yeah.
So, but it's actually harder than it was, and I was happy with 50, but to find out that we're actually in the 70s made me not much happier, but it really impressed me. So, thank you everyone who's been listening. Speaking of people who've been listening, we have a new Patreon subscriber. I shouted him out on our Patreon episode last night for Fall Brawl 1996. $2 a month, and you can listen to that and all the other pay-per-views of the Monday Night Wars. But I'm going to shout him out again on here because I'm sure he probably listens every week. He has to, or else why would you pay $2 to go listen on Patreon? Jeffrey Perks. Thank you, Jeffrey Perks, for subscribing. We appreciate you. Hopefully we do right by you guys and you continue to enjoy the content over there. Speaking of Patreon, people have started to communicate with us. We encourage that. It's Patreon. You're paying for it. Please feel free to talk to us, get to know us. ask us questions, request content. We can't do all of it, but we'll see if we can. You guys are paying for it, so you guys should have, I think, in my opinion, a voice in the matter.
And
Another thing.
even if you're
Go ahead.
not a Patreon subscriber, man, they can write us letters like our
Yeah.
boy Ronnie.
Yeah, well, Ronnie is a Patreon subscriber.
I know, but I'm saying he writes us letters though.
But he does. Yeah, you can still reach out to us on other platforms. But if you're paying for it anyways, like we encourage it. That being said, Patreon's allowing us to. This is new. I didn't even talk about Scott about this. It's allowing us to now do a thing where instead of having the paywall of $2 a month, we can sell posts. So we could technically sell as like a one-time pay-per-view our pay-per-view posts. So I have not explored this option. I don't know if we're going to. Let us know your thoughts on that. If you're not subscribing to our Patreon, if that's something that actually interests you, like just buying pay-per-views you want to hear, let us know. And then we can try to look at figuring out how to do that. It's not something that I'm super hell-bent on. So if it just becomes nobody cares about it, then we just won't do it. But it is an interesting, intriguing option. So let us know if that's something that kind of resonates with you and you're not subscribed to our Patreon. That's it as far as quick bits. Let's get back to the show.
Man, I tell you though, we are just such a podcast of the people. You're like, we're putting this up to you guys, whatever you want to do. Democracy, beautiful thing. I love it. What I don't love though is that Psycho Sid and Viano 5 died. I do.
Yeah.
That's Sid's really grown on us, which I think makes this even harder, his passing, because now we're like, oh, we actually really like that guy. And you're right. I love me some of the Vianos, man. I'm so excited.
If we hated Sid, maybe he'd still be here. It's a butterfly effect, man. That's all I'm saying.
Damn. So we killed Sid? Well, now I feel terrible. And the only thing that'll help me feel better is talking about WCW Nitro, September 16th, 1996. That's exciting. Let's do it. Oh, I guess we should start, by mentioning the fact that the NWO is now doing they got the propaganda flyer thing. They've got people passing out flyers, and it's just like NWO flyers. I like it. Do you like it, Joseph?
I do. They kind of have like fans taking over, right? Like there's like the NWO fans who are taking over the WCW fans. I think it's a pretty interesting touch.
Yeah, and then beyond that, we got a recap of Fall Brawl. And of course, at Fall Brawl, the important things that happened were that's for our Patreon subscribers. They thought I was going to slip up, Joseph. I never slip up. I don't break character until the DVD commentary. Anyways, after that, we got our first match. It's a Cruiserweight Championship match. Rey Mysterio, who, boy, about killed himself just last night. He's back again to do it all over again against Juventud Guerrera. 6 minutes, 54 seconds. You like how I rolled those R's?
I loved it. So the way I always structure my notes is I say, so-and-so versus so-and-so, and then I say winner, and then I say grade, and then I make my notes about the match. So obviously, like you said, it's Juvi versus Rey. My winner is the audience. That's who's the winner of this match. Regardless of who wins the actual match, the audience won this one. I think this is the first time we've been gifted this particular matchup on Nitro, and it is glorious. Like you said, NWO fans are tailgating outside the arena. They're doing all their shenanigans. They cut to that a few times, but I kind of wish they wouldn't. During the match, at least. Before the match is fine. After the match is fine. But during this match, like, don't pull away. Soon after this, Juvi tries to hit an avalanche powerbomb, and Rey turns it into a Rana, and it was over. The crowd lost their shit because it was an incredible, incredible move, and rightfully so. This won't be the best match that these two men will have together, but man, it was so much fun. I didn't want to go too far into it because there's a lot of like just flippy shit that's just insane. Absolutely recommend watching it. Like I said, it's not their best, but if this is a down night, it can only get better, right?
And the audience was into it on like last night. People they were hot and cold last night, but tonight the fans wanted it and they got it. And I feel like that really helps the match when the fans are really into it. It helps bring you into it more. And that, I feel like it really elevated it. It was a
I
good
agree.
match. Yeah. Then something weird happens, Joseph. I noticed this.
Uh-huh.
We got Mike Tenay
Yep.
doing interviews. Where's Mean Gene? Joseph, do you know? Because I know. I looked it up.
I do not know. I actually thought about it, but I did not do the due diligence to look it up. I'm glad you did.
I put it into the old computer machine. Turns out his contract was up when he was renegotiating it. And that's why we didn't really see him last night at the pay-per-view and why we don't see him tonight.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. But after that, Mike Tenay is interviewing, but it's who he's interviewing. He's interviewing Steve, Mongo McMichael, Deborah, and Chris Benoit. We like Chris Benoit as a wrestler. And that's all I have to say about that.
That was really good. I was like, what? Where's this going? I like that.
Because none of these three are really particularly good on the mic.
Correct. Yeah.
And this is about how they're mad. They're mad at Sting, I guess, because he left. It's not good, Joseph. It's not. What do you think?
Oh, man. Mongo says that Lex better run and apologize to Sting and bring him back because he already told Lex what he would do to him if he let down the Horseman. Then Deborah said, by the way, I'm making that sound way better than it actually came out. Deborah says, Mongo made a great career in the NFL for 15 years by beating punked up bullies like you guys, so you better watch out. She's referring to Sting and Lex, who are not bullies in WCW. It's a weird comment. Then Benoit kind of rambles and he says they prophesized that Sting and Lex would ruin the team. Prepare to pay the price. He says more than that, but it's not worth writing down. That's the gist of it. I gave this an F. I don't know why any of this happened or was said, and how did anyone involved think this was a good direction?
Was not good, but it can only go up from here. And what we have next is, drum roll, please, Joseph. Drum roll, please. Blood runs cold.
I really hope the mic picks that up. That shit worked so well.
Presumably for the last time. You'll find out why in a second. But we have a Blood Runs Cold promo, and this time, Glacier speaks.
He does, and he should.
And this 1,000-year-old karate master, or whatever the hell they've been trying to sell us on, is from Brunswick, Georgia. And it sounded like he from Brunswick, Georgia. He's a good old Southern boy. He tells the story about how he goes to Japan and he finds a karate master who teaches him everything. And then he talks about all the symbolism of his gear because they spent some money on his gear. Real story. Like they had like a custom made helmet and some armor. Like it costs money. It's legit. And then his debut is so bad they just never do it again. But it's bad, Joseph.
And it's long.
Yeah. All of that, months of promos, and instantly the wind comes out of the sails.
Yeah.
Immediately. It's bad, man. I mean, what did you think?
Gave it a D. I surprisingly liked it better than the thing we just watched. It wasn't good, though. There's really nothing I can say to add to what you said. That is the gist of what he says. Like, there's specific details, like what the symbols specifically mean, but that doesn't fucking mean anything because it's not going to matter after this promo. It is very long and very boring, and I feel so bad for him, and it's just not good.
But luckily, we got a match that can save this because we got Diamond Dallas Page and we got Ice Train, Joseph. 4 minutes, 41 seconds. What'd you make of this one?
I gave this one a C+, and I would have given it a higher grade, but I'll explain why. DDP brings out the best in Ice Train. I'm really not sure Ice Train's ever looked as good as he has in this match. DDP does a really good job with him. He had a really great match the previous night in Fall Brawl, but you got to go, subscribe to the Patreon to hear about that. But that was really both men doing really well. DDP is clearly carrying him here, and not in a bad way, in a negative way. I mean, he's accentuating the positives, is what I mean. NWO fans during this take over the WCW merch booth. And while they're taking over the merch booth, and while we're focusing on them taking over the merch booth, Ice Train has DDP in some kind of lock. DDP grabs the towel from Teddy Long and throws it in and makes it look like Teddy was the one throwing in the towel for Ice Train. Nick Patrick calls for the bell and DDP wins. The reason I say some kind of lock, because usually I'll tell you what the fucking lock is because we never see any of it. Because they're focused on what the fans are doing with NWO fans with the WCW merch table. We don't see anything. So it's a really fun match to that point. It's a really clever finish because it's some really good trickery on DDP's part, but we don't see shit. So I can't really give it much higher than a C+. I wanted to be like solid B+ range, and the ending fell so flat. It was a really creative ending, and it fell so flat.
I like the NWO propagandist angle. I like it, but you're right. I don't like when they go completely from the match to show us what they're doing at the merch table. I like it in theory, but I like the match. I like Diamond Dallas Page. I like Ice Train. I don't like them being interrupted. But, Diamond Dallas Page defeats Ice Train, and then Ice Train get mad at Nick Patrick because, Nick Patrick deserved it. He might be, a bit of a cheater, that Nick Patrick.
That sounds like narrative, Scott.
I'm all for it because I think Nick Patrick has what, has something coming to him. I tell you. But yeah, after that, again, we go back to the merch table. All of the WCW merchandise has been replaced with NWO merchandise, and we go to a break. But when we come back, Joseph, we actually get a pretty big reveal here. Someone is in the audience. The artist formerly known as the 1-2-3 Kid is here, and Tony just can't figure out possibly why he could be here. Larry, a little bit more intelligent, I guess, figures out that he's probably with the NWO because clearly that's what's going on. But what did you think?
I mean, there's not a whole lot to this, right? It's very quick. It's very like, oh, there he is. We will get into this after the following match. Then they'll go kind of interview him and you'll kind of get a lot more. So I'm going to wait until that.
Well, all right then. I was so amused by the Tony going, what is he doing? Why is he here? Like, come on, Tony.
Yeah.
This is literally the 6th time we've done this. And I just loved Larry because he's like, dude, he's with the NWO. What do you think it is? Larry Zbyszko just didn't have time for Tony's bullshit. After that, though, we got the Mexican Heavyweight Championship, Joseph. The AAA title, Conan versus Super Callow. 6 minutes, 44 seconds. Bowdy, Joseph.
Bowdy. And you know what I'm not bowdy is Conan being in Dungeon and Doom. It's so fucking weird. Anyways,
still don't like it. I don't get it.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Like him coming out dressed like that to the Dungeon of Doom music is so strange. Anyways, this is the best that Super Callow has looked thus far, in my opinion. I imagine a lot of that has to do with Conan, or Conan really. Knowing really how to work with him. Conan was the kind of underground railroad for Mexican superstars, WCW. He was the guy that he would get people in. Like he got Ray in, he got Callow in. He did not get Eddie in. I believe Eddie was already there before, so that wasn't a thing. But he brought in a lot of those guys. A lot of the guys that we're going to see over the next, we've already seen for the last few months, and we're going to continue seeing. So he really knows how to work with them. Conan eventually hits the power drop after Callow gets a healthy amount of offense in, and Conan takes the win. I gave this a B+. There's no storyline to this. I also don't think it was really an A-worthy match, but it was really, really fun, really good between both men. Conan's, to me, pretty underrated, and Callow really did his best job here.
Oh, I think it's probably Super Callow's best match yet. He's really good in it, and Conan does a great job too. cruiserweight. You're just not gonna stop me from liking these cruiserweight.
Well, I don't mean to correct you here, Scott, but this wasn't a cruiserweight match. It was a Mexican heavyweight match.
Oh, that's right. But see, because they're on the metric system, so it's different. It's different.
Gotcha.
But as you noted, after that, Mike Tenay goes and confronts the artist formerly known as the 1-2-3 Kid and says, "What are you doing here?" And the 1-2-3 Kid said he wanted to go to War Games, but he just didn't get here in time. And I actually laughed at that. I thought it was pretty good. What'd you make of this?
I enjoyed the hell out of this. It was a lot of fun. I mean, at this point, he's not the best on the mic, but he does a really good job kind of being an asshole here. I gave this a B- overall. Like you said, he was on a plane from Japan and he heard that Nitro was the hottest show, so he felt like checking it out. But because he was on the plane, he missed War Games, and then then he asks who won the War Games match, which fucking killed me. And Mike Tenay says, obviously NWO. And then Kid goes, "Oh, they did? Oh, darn." It was really fucking funny. I enjoyed it. It's a fun kind of opener to this particular character.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the Six character, and I really think it's kind of a watershed moment. Six is kind of the character that he becomes for the rest of his career.
Correct.
And it's for the better, because we were not 1-2-3 Kid fans. We got a match, Joseph, and a match you probably won't particularly like. I'm just guessing. Hugh Morris versus Brad Armstrong. 3 minutes, 55 seconds.
The Hugh Morris character is literally just him laughing and then dropping his face directly after. It sucks. That's all the character is.
I was right.
That being said, he does hit a fantastic moonsault, and then he goes for a nonchalant pin, and Brad Anderson seizes the opportunity and rolls him up for a crucifix pin of his own, and he gets the win. I give this a C. It's fine. Both men do fine in the match. I've mentioned with Brad Armstrong, I like him. He's just very vanilla. And it was a, simple TV match. And I thought it wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was just kind of right down the middle.
I was kind of surprised that Brad Armstrong won.
I agree. Yeah.
That was a little shocking to me because, Hugh Morris with the dungeon, I assumed he would win. But maybe this is the end of the dungeon. God, we can only hope, right? Well, it's hour number 2. So now we got Eric, Bobby, and Mike Tenay. And Mike Tenay, he takes a moment to talk with the Macho Man Randy Savage. Joseph, why don't you take a big swig of water and tell us what happened?
That's hilarious. That's exactly what I was doing.
You have to. You have to. You got to give people what they want, man.
Yeah. It's a little bit late today. We're recording this at a weird time because Scott's got a little trip he needs to go on. And so I texted my wife because she's already in bed. I'm about to scream because Mach, and that's it. So she knows that I'm okay. So Tenay calls last night embarrassing for Mach as he outlines the match in great detail, then tells him Halloween Havoc is his chance to get back the title from Hollywood Hulk Hogan. And Mach says, "Living hard and living fast. Don't know how much longer I can last. If I'm lying, I'm dying. The nightmare continues. But I tell you something right now. I'm rock bottom. No, I'm not. I'm a million miles below rock bottom. A lot of people say I got nothing to live for. Hollywood Hulk Hogan, guarantee personified. You and me are alive. And planet Earth at the same moment in time. And guess what? It's going to get really, really scary. Because
my God.
Because of the fact that now I'm down to 1 marble. If I lose the one, sorry. And if I lose that one, it really doesn't matter, brother. Because you take what I got for you? I don't think so. Bring it on. Oh, yeah. And I told my wife yesterday when I was taking notes for this, I said, I'm going to lose my voice tomorrow.
That might have been your best one yet. Like, oh my God, how you were just talking normal and then just started screaming a mile a minute. Bro, I don't know if you could hear me, but I was laughing pretty hard in the background. And I'm impressed that you kept it together for most of that. I'm proud of you. I'd clap, but it doesn't get picked up on the mic. So just know that I'm clapping. I'm giving you a golf clap.
Man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, another great one. Another great macho. I mean, it's so good. Following that, though, we get the New World Order limo pulling up. And everybody's wearing the NWO shirts. You know, they got the fans taking over. They're all there. And then Hogan says something kind of weird. He says, there's no one left in the building to beat up. What does he mean by that, Joseph? What'd you think of this?
I liked the kind of like kind of what you said, right? It's kind of questionable, right? It's not conclusive in any sort of way, so it just kind of makes you go, what's going to happen next, which I think is good.
We got a match. We got the Macho Man Randy Savage, and we got Scott Norton, Joseph. And it's a 6-minute, 35-second one. How'd your boy do?
Mach charges Norton immediately, and Mach and Norton actually have really good chemistry. They've wrestled a few times before. We've enjoyed it every time. Mach body slams Norton outside of the ring, which is like, damn, that must have hurt. Norton hits his shoulder breaker, but Mach rolls out of the ring. Good ring awareness from Mach. And eventually shoves Norton head first into the ring post. Then he grabs a chair and starts wailing on Norton with some vicious chair shots and gets DQ'd. I loved this. I gave it an A. Scott Norton obviously wins, but this really does solidify and continue the Mach has gone crazy. Like, he really has lost his marbles and he's done with the NWO and any bad guy, and he is going to just wail on everybody because he's been getting the shit kicked out of him for weeks. I thought this was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
He's the Punisher.
Yeah.
Or should I say the Machishner?
That doesn't quite roll off the tongue there.
Yeah, no, that's good. Start making the toys. Start making the Macho Man Punisher toys. We're gonna make $1 million on this. Great idea. But you know what isn't a great idea, Joseph?
What's that, Scott?
Glacier, in hindsight. And I just want the record to reflect that as a child, I liked Glacier. I was a Glacier fan. I played him in the video games. I was so wrong. Because we finally get our Glacier debut. And he's going against Big Bubba. Because if you recall, Big Bubba's been talking shit to him about where's this Glacier guy? When is this Glacier guy going to show up? Making fun of these promos, shooting, saying what we're all thinking. Because when are we going to see Glacier? It's right now. And we get the wildest of instances. It feels like half an hour.
Yeah.
It is so long. There's strobe lights. I mean, the whole place goes dark. There's blue light. Everything is, the entire arena is like in a blue light. There's strobe lights. There's snow falling. He's wearing this apparently very expensive like armor that they paid a lot of money to have custom made, only for this to completely blow up in their faces. He's doing karate moves just all the way down. Finally, he gets in the ring, and then he beats Big Bubba in 2 minutes and 42 seconds.
Did you mention the snow? I don't remember if you did.
Yes, I said.
Okay.
Yeah, there's snow falling, and the whole match is in that blue light too.
Yeah. And Bubba's like reaching for the snow during the entrance, which made me chuckle. Oh man. Bubba sells so hard for him on everything. He's really trying to make this work. And I appreciate that from Bubba. Glacier honestly has some cool moves, but a lot of them take so long to do, and they've got impractical setups that it just doesn't quite work. Like, it doesn't land. You mentioned the crazy entrance. During the entrance, the fans don't react once to it. And they're really not reacting during this match, especially with the different moves that he's trying to do. Glacier ends up hitting a spinning side kick that will be later called the cryonic kick. It's pretty similar to Alistair/Malachi Black's Black Mass, but not nearly as cool. Commentary tries so hard to put over Glacier, and the crowd is completely dead. However, I think you probably think that I would grade this pretty low, Scott. I think you would agree with me on that?
I would assume.
However, I kind of have made a rule that with important debuts, I give it an A. So I'm giving this an A. It's dog shit, but I'm
What?
giving it an A.
Did you just make this rule up on the fly? I don't remember this rule.
No. The last few debuts, I've given A's to like Stone Cold, Mankind. Like I've done that pretty. Rey Mysterio, Hoovy,
Bro,
Chris Jericho.
What are you doing?
It's like the same thing, Scott. It's like the same level of importance.
It's like, I give A's when the Hall of Fame of Wrestling debuts and then Glacier.
Do we not still talk about him to this day, Scott?
I mean, I've been hyping him up for 6 months for this. It's so bad. The match isn't even 3 minutes. Also, yeah, they also have no idea. Like, you talked that he has some pretty cool moves. It's clear the announce table has no idea what he's doing because they're trying to explain it and they're just like making shit up. It's just like, you're doing like a spinny kick thingy.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what? Oh my God. All of that for this. I honestly feel kind of bad for the guy because this could not have been more botched from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I get it that NWO kind of put it off, but like, just stop. Just don't do all this. To do all this and then to have this match as the first match is so bad. Doomed from the start. I am sorry, Glacier. I am sorry. And I'll still play you in WCW versus NWO for the Nintendo 64 as my penance for all of this. Anyways.
That's beautiful, man.
Thank you. Anyways, after the break, we got Sting. And he mad. Oh, he mad, Joseph. Tell me how mad he is.
Well, first off, he comes down to the ring by himself in sick red and white gear. I've always loved it. I'm not going to grade it because I've graded it before. And he grabs a mic, which, if you think about, is kind of different because normally you got like Mean Gene or Mike Tenay. They have the mic, they hold it up to the wrestler, and they go. Here, Sting has grabbed the mic. He don't need no WCW help. He grabs the mic. And he says, I'm going to paraphrase. I did not write it verbatim. I'm going to paraphrase. But he says, I want to explain what happened last Monday. I flew in late and tuned in to Nitro. And I thought I was seeing a rerun because I'm seeing myself on TV. I saw all my friends and family doubt me. So I went into seclusion. And I wanted to see what would happen on Saturday night. On Saturday night, I saw more of the same doubt. I knew I had to get to Fall Brawl to get face to face with Luger to let him know it wasn't me. What I got out of it was, I don't believe you, Sting. Well, all I got to say is, I have been mediator. I have been babysitter for Lex Luger. I've given him the benefit of the doubt 1,000 times in the last 12 months. And I've carried the WCW banner, and I have given my blood, sweat, and tears to WCW. So for all the people who have never doubted me, the Stinger, I'll stand by you if you stand by me. But for all the commentators, friends, and wrestlers who didn't stand by me, you can all stick it. From now on, I consider myself a free agent. But that doesn't mean you won't see the Stinger. From time to time, I'm going to pop in when you least expect it. This gets an A+. This is one of the greatest promos ever that people do not talk about. It is a phenomenal promo. Sting, I've mentioned, is so underrated in his promos, but one of the best things about this, not only the fact that he just doesn't get talked about, he doesn't get enough credit for this, not for just for this, but for his promos. But one of the best things about this is during the entire promo, his back is turned to the camera. So he's talking to the audience, but he's not talking to the camera. He's letting everybody in production, everybody at WCW know, I got no time for you anymore. And it is perfect. It is, there's not a single moment of this that you could make any better. It gets an A+.
And right after the Glacier match.
Which, also got an A. So that's like the same thing,
Yeah, man, they're just on a roll. Just on a roll. No, you're right. It's a great promo from Sting. This storyline is hot. I mean, obviously, this is the storyline that leads to Crow's Sting. So we're all about it. We are here for it. That's exciting. And it was really good. It was just really well done. After that, we go to the back. And Arn and Ric Flair, they got a match. But Miss Elizabeth, she doesn't want to leave because she's scared of the NWO after what they did to her last night. Joseph, what did they do to her last night? Do you remember?
I do remember, but if you want to hear about it, you're going to have to subscribe to our Patreon by paying $2 a month.
My God. The little pick and roll there, man.
Don't you fucking do it. Don't you fucking do it.
You know, I was thinking about it. But I just figured I'd let you know that I was thinking about it. Anyways, meanwhile, then we go out to the stands, and the artist formerly known as the 123 Kid, or as I like to call him, legally distinct 123 Kid, because he doesn't have a name yet. We don't know what to call him, right? He's not 123 Kid anymore. He stands up on his chair and he pulls out this thing that looks like a suicide bomber detonator.
Yeah, it's just a giant box with a button on it.
Yeah, and it's like, what? And he hits it, and then so remember we've had the people passing out the flyers. All these flyers start coming down. So many. I think they kind of overdid it on the flyers. How many flyers? In fact, they go to a commercial break, probably because they have to clear this shit off. Because there's so many flyers. But I loved it. What did you think about it?
I did really enjoy it. During this, they actually say, hey, just so you guys know, we're being told that as he not only is the sixth member of the NWO, which we kind of know because of the flyers, but we're being told that he will be going by Six. That's going to be his name. And I don't know if you know this, but Six is not only because he's a sixth member, but it's also 1, 2, 3 added up. It's like poetry, it sort of rhymes.
Bro, I was today years old when I found out that was part of it.
During the match, though.
I haven't talked about the match.
Oh, okay.
I haven't talked about the match.
Sorry, my bad. Jeez.
I'm surprised they didn't get sued for that shit. Now that you're mentioning that, you are right. 1, 2, 3 Kid does add up to 6, and he's a sixth member. I guess they could say, well, it's because he's a sixth member, not that Kid.
Yeah, that's even if you did that, there's no way to connect that. Like, it could be a reference. It could still that they couldn't have gotten sued for.
I don't know. WWF trying to sue him for everything.
That's
why not give it a try? Anyways, since you're so hot to talk about it, let's talk about it. The Four Horsemen, Arn Anderson and Ricky Flair himself versus Chris Jericho and Marcus Alexander Bagwell. What? My guy was with the American Males.
Well, remember that Scotty Riggs is injured. They mentioned that a few weeks ago.
Oh, that's
got
true.
a neck injury, so he's out for a while.
See, I love that because now the fans have been reminded because they didn't know. I knew, of course.
Yeah,
but I did that completely to remind the fans.
Yeah, because it's been a few weeks, and so you kind of played folly there and let me explain it, which I think is really, really well done. I would say it's almost like a line offense. I was going to say triangle offense, but there's only two of us.
Oh, well, it's 11 minutes and 6 seconds. So why don't you tell me about it?
Arn and Jericho have phenomenal chemistry, which is pretty impressive because I don't think they've ever wrestled to this point, to my knowledge. Bobby Heenan says he wouldn't be surprised if Saddam Hussein was a member of the NWO, and that made me chuckle. Bischoff says that DiBiase forced him to give the NWO their own show, and we'll learn what that means over the next few weeks. During the match, like you said, or like we've kind of alluded to, Styx is part of the NWO. They actually welcome him into the NWO. There's like a segment out back, which they've done that a lot. This show is still really good, but they've done that a lot. And it's like, all right, you got to please focus on the ring at some point. Then they pull out I think it's the Giant pulls out like a stereo system, and he plays on a tape, the Sting voice tape that they used. And they're all laughing at WCW, which I honestly thought was a really nice touch. I thought that was pretty good. Then Woman from the Four Horsemen, she rakes Bagwell's eyes. Arn hits the DDT. Then Flair locks in the figure 4, and they get the win. It's a very fun match. Lots of shenanigans going around, but all the shenanigans did have real storyline implications. So I gave it a B.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I just realized I wasn't muted that whole time, so Mike probably heard me scratch my face and shit. So sorry about that if that happened. We don't do retakes. This is live worldwide. You get what you get.
I don't do 2 takes.
Absolutely, man.
But we got
Absolutely.
amateurs like you do 2 takes.
We're professionals. We're professionals.
If you get that reference, we can be friends.
I liked it. I like the match. I like Ric Flair. I like Arn Anderson. It's kind of like cruiserweight. I don't care. It's got Ric Flair. It's got Arn Anderson. It's perfect.
Yeah, I get you.
It's perfect. But you know what isn't perfect, Joseph?
The next match?
The next match. Because it's Chris Benoit and Steve Mongo McMichael. They're very upset because they feel like Sting and Lex let them down at Fall Brawl, and they want to give them a good old-fashioned beating to show them how they feel about that. But Sting doesn't show up. It's just Lex. It's a 2-on-1 handicap match for 6 minutes. Man, Flexi Lexi gonna get in trouble here, Joseph. Tell me about it.
Luger does put up a good fight for most of the match, but eventually, after putting Benoit in the torture rack, the rest of the Horsemen attack him in a 4-on-1. Outside during this, because obviously he wins via DQ, but outside during this, the NWO is partying in a limo, and in the limo, they're actually playing the WCW feed, the live feed, because obviously WCW is live. And apparently, everyone in WCW is going to Japan next week, except one man. Can you guess who that man is, Scott?
I can, but I can't do it like you. So why don't you tell me who it is?
Macho Man Randy Savage.
You.
So, which I thought was really good. Then Six says, "Oh man, I love him. I love Macho Man. Can you please get me tickets, Hogan?" And Hogan's just like, "Oh, you love him? Well, you know what? I think I can pull some strings. I'm gonna get you some tickets. In fact, I'm gonna get tickets for everyone in the NWO so we can all see Mach live." Really, really cool, because you obviously know this means Mach is fucking boned, and it's just really good storytelling. The match I gave a C to. It's not great. It's not bad, but it's not great. The best thing about it is the fact that it enforces the fact that Sting is no longer there. The post-match stuff is excellent. I really enjoyed the post-match stuff, and I gave that an A.
Yeah, and why Hogan's saying all this, Lex is just laid out in the ring. He's down. He's dead. And there's no Sting. I thought it was a great way to end the night. It's just, we're at a really low point. NWO, Sting is gone. Lex is down. Everyone's going to be gone next week. So it's just NWO versus the Macho Man. I'm excited to watch more. I'm excited to tune in next week. I thought that was great. But before we get to tune in next week, we got to tune in to the USA Network. They're USA at this point, right? I remember.
Yeah, they were on USA.
We're tuning to the USA Network because we're still here. It's still September 16th. It's actually on Monday this week. It's not on Friday. Wheeling Civic Center, Wheeling, West Virginia, where we've been for the last couple of weeks. Raw. And Joseph, let's hope it is better than previous weeks.
Yeah, let's do that.
Why are you laughing?
Oh,
Anyways,
no reason.
Let's get into it. Oh, it's more Jake the Snake alcoholism stuff. Cool. Yeah, so the night starts with Jake chasing Jerry Lawler's ass around, which is fine. I'm for that. Jerry needs an ass beating. But then we get a debut. This is all to start off the Jake's match with a debut, which is what have they done to my boy? It's the Sultan, formerly known as Fatu, someday known as Rikishi, and it's terrible. This is a terrible gimmick. Jake the Snake versus the Sultan. The Sultan is being trained by your favorite people, Bob Backlund, and the Iron Sheik. I mean, we do like the Iron Sheik, but not like this Sheik. 3 minutes, 4 seconds. Joseph, tell me about this.
There's not a whole lot more to say than you did. Jake chases Jerry the King Lawler off. Bob Backlund joins on commentary, and then Jerry immediately rejoins on commentary, which I thought was such an odd move. Like, he should have just left for the whole match because Jake was out there and he chased him off, but whatever. Sultan wins a very boring match with the camel clutch, a nod to the Iron Sheik, and Jerry makes a ton of alcoholic jokes. I would never give someone an A just because they debuted, so I'm not gonna. This gets an F.
Yeah, we're in for it tonight, aren't we?
It's not good.
Though I'm looking at the card and I'm like, God, I'm looking at my notes and it's like, it doesn't get any better. After that, we get backstage with Owen Hart and Brian Pillman. They're talking. But Steve Austin comes in. So that's good. We like Steve, right?
True.
And he says he's the best there is. What do you think about this one?
To be fair, we do like all three men. The problem with this more than anything is that Brian Pillman and Owen Hart say exactly what they said last week, so it doesn't really help anything. And then Stone Cold comes out and he says nobody cares because I'm gonna be there when Brett comes back, and I'm gonna get my answers firsthand, son. Because the bottom line is Stone Cold is the best there is. I gave this a C, and that C is entirely for Stone Cold.
Yeah. It's fun. I'm just kind of looking and like we're already halfway done, and we've barely just started with this. Just how shallow Raw is. Because next up we've got Bob Holly versus Alex Porto.
No, they're on a team.
Oh, it's I'm sorry, I'm reading my notes wrong. This is a tag team match. Oh, good.
Yeah.
I usually like tag team matches, but not on WWF. Two guys they just threw together: Bob Holly, Alex Porto versus the Smoking Guns, and it's not even really a title match. I mean, I guess I don't think the title's even actually on the line, right? Yeah, I'm looking up. This is a non-title match. Why? Anyways, what the hell happens?
Well, Raw is brought to you by Tekken 2, which is a great game. Love that game.
That is true.
Sunny cuts a promo while commentary talks over her the entire time. And the Guns music is also playing over her the entire time. So you can't hear anything she's saying. And then she shows her banner again where she's in like lingerie. And then Cornette, Bulldog, and Owen sit at ringside. Apparently they have a title or tag team title shot lined up. So that kind of makes sense. I thought that was pretty interesting. Billy Gunn gets distracted by Owen and Bob Holly wins with the roll up. That beyond that storyline bit, this is really boring and I gave it a D.
It's not good.
No.
It's not good. Oh, but wait, Gorilla Monsoon's coming out. Clearly, he's going to have something important and interesting to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He comes out and tells us that Scott Hall and Kevin Nash are not going to be appearing on Raw next week. Jim Ross told us that he had heard under good authority that they were back. And Gorilla says they're not. They're under contract at another organization. I wonder if WCW sent them a cease and desist.
I think they did, actually, yeah.
Why not? They did it to them, And then Jim Ross leaves the commentary table. He's very upset by this.
Yeah.
You don't insult his journalistic credibility here. Is there anything more you want to say about that, or should we just keep rolling?
This is apparently a desire to turn JR heel for some reason, which obviously won't work very well. I did think it was interesting that Monsoon directly calls Diesel and Razor Ramon, which that's what we've been referring to them. He calls them specifically Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, their real names. And obviously, like you said, that their contract is somewhere else. And that's about the most interesting thing about it. I gave it a D.
Yeah, you're right. This is part of Jim's heel turn, because Jerry always a heel. Jim's heel turn that lasts about 3 weeks. But also at the same time, why turn Jim Ross heel? You already have a heel commentator. This doesn't make any sense. Why are we doing this? And now we got Jerry Lawler doing the in-ring commentary because Jim Ross the heel now, I guess. So now we got Jerry doing it. God help us. He's talking to Jim Cornette and Vader. Jim Cornette is worried about Jose Lothario because, the man did pull a knife on Jim Cornette. Jose Lothario pulled a knife on Jim Cornette, and all the evidence I have on that is Jim Cornette's word, and the man has never lied about anything. The reality is the guy talks a lot of damn truth about what's going on in the WWF right now.
That's true, yeah.
So I want to believe the guy. And then he also talks about how Cornette's worked with Tony Williams and all of this kind of stuff. What do you think about this? Exactly.
Bad. So Yeah, so there is some interesting, but I took some notes on some things. So Cornette says that he has a lot to worry about. Vader beating Shawn Michaels and not getting his title. Sonny and Clarence Mason trying to steal his talent. A WWF tag team title match coming up. But if it wasn't bad enough, the WWF is insisting that he wrestled the no good, stinking 127-year-old Jose Lothario. One time, Frank Sinatra sat in this chair. I said, Frank, you know Joe Louis. How old is he? He said, Joe Louis, 134 years old. Anyways, Cornette says he'll embarrass them instead because Vader has been coaching him how to unleash the beast. And then Cornette is working, like you said, with his jobber, Tony Williams. Every hold, it's like a training thing. Every hold that Jim Cornette gets on Williams, Williams immediately reverses. Finally, Vader attacks Williams. And that's kind of the end of the segment. I gave this a D, and this may be the only Cornette segment I haven't liked.
Which is just the sad state of affairs.
Yeah.
That's the sad state of affairs. When Jim Cornette can't save the night, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. Then we got the next segment. I don't even remember where we're at. Let me see if I even know where we're friggin' at in this. We're at the semifinals of the IC title tournament because remember Ahmed may never wrestle again because he had to get a kidney removed. And it's Mark Merrow versus Owen Hart, 9 minutes, 26 seconds. What do you think?
Pat Patterson is on commentary too. I thought that was pretty interesting because Pat Patterson obviously was the inaugural Intercontinental Champion. Apparently, he will also referee the finals of the IC title tournament, again, for the same reasons. Pretty interesting. Lawler says that Sable is still styling her hair with a weed whacker. Lawler has to be a cuckold. There's literally nothing that can change my mind on that. Owen Hart uses the cast as a weapon, but Merrow kicks out. And then Merrow uses the cast instead, and the ref can clearly see it, but Merrow wins. It's not great. It wasn't bad. The match physically wasn't bad. It's easily the Raw's match of the night, I'm pretty sure. Let me take a gander real quick. Yes, it is. It's their match of the night. I gave it a C. It's fine.
Love Gerald Briscoe.
I love that you know who they are now, but you're just keeping up with the gimmick.
Yeah, that's an inside joke for everyone listening. For a while, I kept confusing Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe because I was not watching Raw at this point. I was watching WCW. By the time I get over to Raw, they're just a unit. It's just Patterson and Briscoe, and I never knew which one was which. Now I do. The funny thing is I used to get them wrong, like accidentally, and now Joseph can tell that I know because I always get the right one wrong now.
Yeah.
But it's for fun. But what's not fun is tonight.
Or the next segment.
Or the next, yeah, because next we got Bret Hart. Again, great technical wrestler. I just don't think he's very good on the mic.
He's not. He just isn't.
Yeah, Bret's with Brian Pillman. And he says Brian Pillman's a liar, Owen's a liar, not gonna work with them at Mind Games. Joseph, what do you make of this?
My note is, why is this even a thing? Like they serve no purposes, and it got an F for me.
I love that you're keeping this tight so we can keep the party rolling. Let's just move on.
Yeah, it's a bad episode. I don't want to talk more than I have to.
Again, it's just how light Raw is. There's hardly any content. We get through. I mean, we talked like 40 minutes about Nitro because there's just so much going on. We're gonna do this in 20 minutes maybe because there's just nothing going on. We're already at the main event, and it's Farouk versus Psycho Sid. It's again one of these IC tournament semifinals. Joseph, tell me about it.
During this, Jim Ross says that Diesel and Razor will in fact return next week. Can't wait for that. Ahmed has a picture-in-picture and says that Farouk only lit a fire under him and that he guarantees he will burn Farouk's ass up. Honestly, not a bad line. Ross doubles down on the Diesel and Razor thing. Then Farouk goes for a Dominator, but Sid reverses it into a chokeslam, which was actually a pretty cool spot. Sonny distracts the ref and Farouk grabs a chair and beats Sid, who kicks out. But Sid grabs a chair and beats Farouk and gets disqualified. I like the ending of this match, but I feel like it took way too long to get there. I gave this a C.
Hey, we'll take a C. We'll take a C. We end the night, though, with Undertaker, who says he's going to destroy Goldust. because we got a pay-per-view coming up. And he also says he's going to mess up Mankind, Paul Bearer. He's going to mess up everybody. Undertaker's feud with half the locker room, Joseph. And then Mankind wonders if he's a sexy boy, and I laughed at it. What did you think about the way the night ended? Did this redeem anything to you?
No, it didn't. It did not redeem it at all. This is one of those episodes, like kind of like last. I don't know if it was as bad as last week, but it's one of those episodes where I just go, God, I wish we weren't talking about Raw. Like, I wish you could just skip and just say it was bad and move on.
But we can't.
Nope.
We've made a promise to do this till we die, which could be next week at the rate this is going. So it was bad. It was all bad. Joseph, who won tonight?
I'm going to go with Nitro.
It's absolutely Nitro. We are absolutely done. On behalf of myself and Joseph, good night, everybody.
Bye, guys. Hey everybody, it's Joseph, and guess what? Not only can you listen to us every Monday on Spotify, but you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube Podcasts as well. Just search for Monday Night Wars Podcasts. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at MON Night Wars Pod, on Instagram at Monday Night Wars Podcast, or just email us at mnwpodcast@gmail.com. And finally, subscribe to our Patreon at Monday Night Wars Podcast. For $2 a month, you get every pay-per-view from WCW and WWF during this era, as well as additional content later on. Once again, thank you for listening. We'll see you here next time on the Monday Night Wars Podcast.